I dropped this watch from a height of 1 meter onto a hard concrete tiled floor. Now, Direnzo doesn't know about this yet. This is the first time I've actually mentioned it, and Sergio is finding out just like you guys are today. So, I gotta say, the title of this video is "The watch took a licking but it kept on ticking." Now, I cannot for the life of me find a single mark or scratch on this watch, and it hit a concrete floor from 1 meter. Not even that crystal, there's no scratches. Now I know this has a hardness coating on it, but we're talking hard concrete tiles from 1 meter. So I don't recommend you test your watches out like this. This was an accident as it fell off the bench in my studio. But what about the movement? Did it suffer any damage? Well, I've been wearing this watch for a week on the wrist and the darn thing keeps stopping. So I have to keep winding it up to get it going again, but I figured out what's wrong. And I must say, I'm very impressed. You'll see why. Now I'm a huge fan of Direnzo. I like the quality of their watches, the finish, the attention to detail and the designs. Now that said, it's taken me several days for me to actually bond with this watch, and for a few reasons which I'll explain. Now you saw the pop-up, Direnzo has sponsored this video. They will be sending me a production version of this watch in my colorway. I'm also going to leave a link in the description section for you guys to check out this watch. Now a friend of mine asked me a while back, how do I approach watch reviews when a watch comes in? And for me it's very simple. I wind it, I place it on my wrist and I enjoy it throughout the week. To see how it behaves, what feedback I get from the watch, positives, negatives, how it makes me feel. Now I don't actually take any time to look at the specs of the watch beforehand. The movement, the size, the price, I'd rather experience the watches for a week on the wrist and then see what it was I was actually wearing. Is it worth it? Does it agree with my findings as far as what a 40mm or a 38mm or a 45mm watch should wear like? Or how the movement should behave? And I say this because all week I thought this watch was a 40mm watch, and yet it's a 38mm, but it wears like a 40, because specs are deceiving. That's why I don't look at specs beforehand. And speaking of specs, this watch has a case diameter of 38 with a case height of 10.9. I measure a lug to lug of 45.4 and a lug width of 20. Now that crown is a 6.4mm push-pull crown. The watch offers 100 meters of water resistance, and the total weight on the bracelet sized to my 18cm wrist comes in at exactly 149 grams. Now I must say this has been an extremely comfortable experience on the wrist. The width all the way tapering down, it's actually about 28mm or so up here, down to about 17.9. Extremely comfortable, you've got half links. I found a really good sweet spot on this watch. It's been great. It's got a good presence, like I said, it wears like a 40 even though it's a 38mm watch. And that watch head and bracelet are extremely well balanced. And speaking of that bracelet, it's got quick release end links, it's got fantastic articulation, really nice with its screw pins. This one I've opted to wear on a butterfly clasp, albeit it does also come with an optional folding clasp. Now in saying that, the watch also does come with leather. So I've tried it on both the tan and the black leather. Very cool, very broad 70s style. It's actually made a completely different look onto this watch and its wearing experience. So to me, that's a huge plus. But in saying that, because the bracelet was so comfortable, I actually wore it on the bracelet for the majority of the week. Now I told you guys that I accidentally dropped this watch, and the movement has been stopping and I've had to wind it every couple of days to get it going again. Well, I found the problem. The movement is a hand-wound Sellita SW216 Elaborate grade, and I thought I damaged it because of the big smack on the ground, but it's actually hand-wound. Now I'd only glanced at that case back when I first got the watch, and I completely forgot that it was a manual wind movement throughout the week. And that's a good thing, because these are the things that pick up your attention. I always wear automatic watches, I hardly wear manual wind. And in this case, it got me to continually re-input back into this watch, and something that I thought was a negative because I broke it was actually standard spec. And if you think I've damaged this movement, look at the results on the time graph at the end of the week. And this is after the drop. So that's impressive. So this Incablock shock protection system seems to have done its job. Again, don't do this at home. Don't drop watches on the ground. Now looking at the sapphire crystal, it's a flat sapphire with AR coating. It is wonderful. All of Direnzo's watches are good. This one here, no exception. It's doing a good job. I've had a clean, legible experience with this, so no complaints there. Now with this DRZ06, Direnzo, being a designer, has developed a beautiful, well-balanced and well-proportioned watch. It's extremely comfortable. In fact, it's ridiculously comfortable on the wrist, but also very space age. The design is probably too far into the future for some people. Maybe the people aren't ready for something like this, especially old farts like me with more traditional values and ideas. Now let's talk about that spinning disc, the Wandering Star. I love it, but I also want to throw in an idea into the mix. Imagine this subdial, the running seconds, was geared up to maybe 5 times its speed or something, going something that would catch your attention, because at the moment it's spinning at 1 revolution per minute. So if we sped this up, let's say 5 times the speed, kind of create a more hypnotic effect. I knew I should have stuck to just one coffee today. I guess you've probably figured by now that this is a fun watch, and a quirky one, and a really well made one. So that's why I'm having some fun with this watch. I mean, if you look closely, there's no minute markers on this watch, so you can't actually set the time accurately. So I think personally it's designed more for fun. It's quirky, great look, great design, but nothing to be taken too seriously. Well, that's the way I see it anyway. But let's get back onto some seriousness. The Lume. The Lume is funky, it's legible, it's nicely applied, and again, well done. I think that Lume subdial allows you to know exactly where the 6 o'clock is. So getting a gauge of what is up and what is down on this dial in darkness, it was very easy. And lastly, looking at the website, which I'll leave a link in the description for you guys, you can see there's pre-order prices on this watch. They are slightly reduced prices from the retail. There's different colorways available as well, and it also includes all the delivery dates and manufacturing and what have you. So in saying that, what are the gripes of this watch for me? And the first gripe for me has been that tan leather strap. It was a tad difficult to attach. I think it's in prototype pre-production stage. It's a flaw because one of the spring bars was slightly off and I really couldn't get it in. But even in saying that, the black one was perfect. It fit on straight away, but I did struggle with that tan one. Nothing to worry about. I think they'll sort that out in production versions, but still just pointing it out for you guys. Second gripe, potentially the price. Some people might find these a little bit expensive. They are a tad, but I tell you what, the finishing, the quality, Direnzo makes a really good watch. So my suggestion regarding price, get in early on the pre-orders. If you want to take advantage of those discounted prices, that's my advice. Next gripe for me, I love the bracelet, but I don't like the polished centers. As you can see, they're fingerprinted. This is a fully brushed watch with some polish on the sides, which I get, but I really would have just loved to see fully brushed all the way down, and potentially even in there, just where the integration is of the bracelet to the case. I would not have had a problem if that was all fully brushed. But again, that's a subjective gripe. That's what I think. Fully brushed would have really made sense to me on this, but even so, I'm not the designer, I'm the reviewer. I'm just telling you something that I would have preferred, and that's personal. And that's basically it, guys, because technically this watch is great. It's proved to be a very strong case and movement, although I don't recommend dropping watches on the ground. It's a very fun, very quirky design, and it's very, very well made. So the Direnzo DRZ06 Wandering Star, glad I got it on the channel. It's got all of Direnzo's design elements in there with that beautiful concave dial. Let me know your thoughts. Is it too futuristic, too space age, or is it a timely watch? And the general public is ready for something like this. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the holidays, and we'll see you guys in the next video.